Hey everybody, it's 6:45, so I am hopping on. Actually, it's 6:44. I'm here a minute early, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and hop on here for those of you who are going to be on here with me. Loki's going to knock over my light, so that's not good. There he goes. Hey, I don't know how to see. I'm on my phone today, and I do not know how to see comments. Let me see. How do I do this? Hang on. Can you say something and let me know if you're here, because I'm on my phone today and I can't see the comments like I usually do on the side, so that's going to be a problem if I can't figure this out. Did somebody message me? I don't know. Let me see. Some messages, live chat. I'm trying to get them on here. How do I get them on here? This is going to be bad if I can't figure this out. Oh, good. There you are. Hey, thank you for saying hi. Okay, I was scared there for a minute. My laptop is what I've been using to do my live streams, and I'm actually burning home videos right now, and it's still doing it, and I couldn't do it on that, so I'm on my phone. Hey, Daniela. Okay, good. You guys are on here. Hey, Linda. Okay, so lighting is a little weird, as usual, at nighttime like this, but we're on here together. Hey. Okay, so have you guys read the book so far for week 3, or are you catching up, or trying to catch up, or do you even have the book? Because we are talking about week 3 today. Is everybody caught up? If you're not, don't worry, it's okay. Catching up, that's all right. It was really a struggle. I had to be really, I had to put a lot of effort into making time. Hey, Margaret. I had to really focus on making time to read it too, because I don't read that often. And so it was really a struggle for me to make the time. So you're catching up. That's all right. I feel like this week may be a little short, unless I go off on a big tangent, because I really don't have a lot of takeaways from week 3. So if you guys have read any of week 3, feel free to chime in. You're almost to week 3. That's all right. You'll catch up. So like we talked about in previous weeks, if you are behind or you don't have the book, don't worry about it. You will catch up, and you can watch these videos when you do. You spend most of your time reading to your daughter. I know! Who has time to read to anybody else? People ask me all the time, like, what books do you like to read? And I'm like, nothing. If I have time to do anything besides grade papers or homeschool or work out or cook or clean, I'm probably not going to spend it reading, however horrible that sounds. You don't have the book, but you love the Bible study. That's all right. You don't have to have the book. Hopefully I'll say something that will still kind of speak to you and be helpful. So week 3, still continuing on with worry and fear, and how that affects everything, and how we can try to grow our faith to conquer our fears. So some of this stuff was, I think, redundant of what was mentioned in our earlier weeks, but that's okay. We can never hear it too much, right? And one thing that was said was, fear and worry is Satan's attempt to dethrone God in your life. And the book mentioned how in the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve, and the serpent comes up to Eve and he's like, well, did God really say, not to do this? Are you really sure that's what you're supposed to do? And so that's kind of what he still does now. He puts all of these thoughts and fears and worries in our head to make us think maybe God's not in control. Maybe I need to handle all this because God doesn't have it under control. Or maybe God's plans are not for my good. And that's definitely not true, but that is a trick that the devil likes to play on us. But our fears are earthly fears that are through an earthly sinner's point of view. We have no clue, really. We think we're in control of our lives. We have no clue, really, what we're doing. God has all of the pieces. I talked about that before. He's the only one that has all of the pieces of a puzzle, and he knows what the picture is going to look like in the end, and we don't. So trying to control everything, including God, really is useless in a way, because God's really the one that's orchestrating all this and has, the ultimate end in mind. So, and hasn't something like that ever happened to you guys? And let me know, where something horrible is happening to you, and it's one thing or it's a bunch of things, and you think, how is this any good? Why is this happening to me? I don't see any good that can come from this. But then at the end, no matter how hard it was, maybe it was days, weeks, months, years later, you look back and you see how those things played out for something good. Even if you have to think really hard what that good thing may be, and sometimes it's really obvious, sometimes it's not. But hasn't that ever happened to you guys? I know it has for me. Let me know if it's happened to you too. Because I feel like that helps. If you've had that experience, you realize that that does happen, and we think back about those experiences and we think, well, I lived through this thing, and they, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and something good came from it. And so when something bad happens again, I think you're able to think, okay, God really does have something in mind for me that's gonna come, that's gonna be good from this situation. So if you all have any examples of that happening to you, definitely let me know in the comments, or just say, yes, that's happened to me, because I think that's really a common thing. And I think I'm going to mention this later in my notes. I'm looking at them right now. But I know in the book she talked about before Joseph and his life and all these horrible things that happened to him, that he could have been like, why me? Why me? But then at the end, it really was a good thing. His brothers trying to kill him and getting thrown in prison, all of these things that happened to him, for the end, worked out to glorify God. But if along that way, I mean, I'm sure it was a really hard struggle for him. And I just lost that comment. Where'd it go? Somebody just commented and it disappeared. Okay, I missed that one. I don't know. I don't like doing this on my phone. I don't want to ever do it on my phone again, because now I don't know where the comment went and I can't read your comment. Whoever just said something, it disappeared. Okay. Okay, so you lost a job that forced you to move, and if you hadn't moved, you never would have met your husband and had your daughter. Exactly. Those kinds of things that are horrible, and you look back and you're like, I see that now. I see why that happened. So where we tend to fear and what we tend to worry about the most can give you an idea of where you're the most vulnerable, those weak spots in your faith. And I think I mentioned before, or I know I mentioned, that most of my fears revolve around my kids, their health, and their safety. And I think the main reason for that is because I did already have one miscarriage, and I would have still worried about them like crazy even if I hadn't. But having that miscarriage and realizing that that can happen to me, I'm not immune to that happening, has really, I think, amped up my fear and worry. And that's one thing she talked about in week 3 was, if you already have an emotion tied to a previous thing that happened to you, like my miscarriage, obviously there's lots of emotion surrounded by that, that really solidifies that worry in your brain and kind of perpetuates it over and over and over, because there is that emotion tied to a worry. So it seems a lot more rational, a lot more realistic, and maybe like it's going to keep on happening to you. So, but like I said, those weaknesses can show God's strength, and we can use that weakness as a motivator to really lean in on God and say, help me with this, because He knows that we're struggling. He knows that a lot of these things that we're going to go through are not easy. And we really need to rely on Him to help us with those weak spots in our faith. And one thing that really stood out to me that she said in week 3 was, we don't have tomorrow's strength today, which I thought was genius. Like, that whole book summed up in one sentence would be that. Because obviously we don't have strength to handle a situation that has not even happened yet. We only have enough strength for today. So if we're worrying about things that may happen tomorrow or next week or next month or next year or 10 years down the road, we don't have that strength for tomorrow or beyond. We only have enough strength for today. Hey, it's okay that you're a few minutes late. I was 1 minute early too, if that makes you feel better. So that really, really hits home with me. Like last week, what really stood out to me was talking about worry and how it can be a habit, which I definitely see it as that way now. I also am going to try to remember and put that in like my mental notes, that we don't have tomorrow's strength today. We can only handle what we are facing today, and the rest of the stuff we have to deal and like give to God and let Him handle. So you also never know how strong you are until something happens to you. And like my miscarriage, I hate to keep bringing that up, but that's like the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So it's the easiest thing for me to talk about, like, and relate to. I never thought I could have lived through that. You think about losing a child and you think, how do people live through that? Whether it's a miscarriage or a child that's already, born and, been alive for a year or 5 years, 10 years, however long, you think that literally should kill you. Like, you should not go on. You should not be able to go on and function if you've had to live through something like that. But knowing that you can, is it's an interesting feeling. It's really, really weird, because I know in the beginning I especially felt like I was ashamed that life had to go on. Silly, mundane things like laundry had to go on when I'm going through this horrible thing. Sometimes when your comment went away. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I totally lost what you said. I have to read a lot faster. But I did a video about that, and I mentioned that, I think, in week 1, where I talked about what to do when you've had a horrible thing happen to you and you need God, but you're also mad at Him. that's a really hard place to be because he's really the only one that can help you with these things, but you're also furious with him. So I did a video about that. I will try to link it. It'll be up a few minutes after this live stream is over. But you can go back and watch that and kind of hear my perspective on that after coming through the miscarriage and kind of getting to a point where I could start to see, not, I don't want to say those good things, but you know, like I said, when you get to the end of a bad situation and you can look back and see there are blessings. Um, yeah. When you look back and you see that there are those blessings, that's where I was when I made that video. So definitely go back and watch that if you're interested. But have any of you guys had fears and worries that affected your future, like how you handle anything in the future or anybody else's life? I know they were talking about how it can affect even the people around you when you are constantly worried and afraid of something. So you guys, I'll stop for a second so I can read your comments because they keep disappearing on me. So any fears or worries that have affected your life and the decisions you make, you know, on the day-to-day based on either something that has happened to you or something that you're afraid is going to happen to you. Anybody have that happen or let those fears and worries kind of help you make your decisions, whether you know they're good decisions or not? I feel so dumb just sitting here staring, waiting for comments. It doesn't have to be that. If you have something else that you wanted to add that you thought about week 3 or that stuck out to you or anything about what we're talking about with fear and worry, and being able to see, you know, when you're at the end of a situation, when you can look back and see there were blessings along the way or there is a point to what you're going through, definitely let me know. I think that's all my notes. Yeah. Does anybody have anything else to add? Because that's really all of my notes for week 3. Like I said, it was kind of a short week for me. There was a lot of questions in there. You were really worried when you bought your house. Yeah. Has that turned out okay for you? Like, are you happy now with how it turned out? That can be really scary. We want to move, but I'm just like, I don't know. It is a big decision. Fear of what goes on in public schools is one of the deciding factors in homeschooling my daughter. Yes, us too, for sure. I'm actually doing a video about that. Homeschooling, why we homeschool 5 years later, because we were actually into our 6th year of homeschool. And I talk about that. And even 5 years ago, the safety issues were not as bad as I feel like they are now. So that's definitely still a major factor in why we homeschool as well. I think people expect you to have had some horrible thing happen, and that's not always the case. You just don't want things to happen. You were afraid you would lose your jobs and lose everything. Yeah. Well, I hope that worked out okay for you guys. I mean, I don't know your situation, but that can be scary and trying to decide what you can afford. You've recently become a caregiver to your husband's grandmother who has dementia, and it's been very scary to take that on and move in with her 5-year-old. God wins in the end, so when Satan works on us, we have to look beyond the present. Yes, definitely. Yeah, there's so many scary unknown situations, and we have to do, you know, our end of it is praying and giving it to God. That's really all. I mean, he expects you to work and all that stuff and you know, be self-sufficient as best you can, but we really are supposed to rely on him so much more than we do, and we just try to do everything ourselves, and he knows that we can't do that, and it's really a feeble attempt when we do try to do that. You know, so many times it ends up in disaster because it's not us that's supposed to be doing these things, it's him. You both found better jobs, and his blessings have been wonderful. Yes, that has happened to us. My husband has had, and you guys know if you've watched my channel for a while, that my husband is the main income, you know, breadwinner, whatever you want to call it. I didn't make any money because I was just I don't want to say just a stay-at-home mom. That's just is a bad word, but I was a stay-at-home mom, and didn't have my YouTube channel. And even when I did have my YouTube channel, I didn't make money on it for 3 years. So for 3 years, I was doing stuff for no money, which is fine because I love it. But he lost his job several times over the course of our marriage, and that's been really scary because it's always been at like the worst time. We just bought a house, he lost his job. We just had a baby, he lost his job. And it was always like in Christmas time or something horrible. I'm like, who fires somebody at Christmas over something so dumb, which was totally not even his fault, but whatever. Um, but all of those things, led him to the job that he has now and have been a huge blessing and have enabled me to be able to stay home. So as horrible as that was, it all did work out. God was just freeing him up for something better. I hope so. I like to think so. I mean, it's not easy, but it's still been a blessing. Your dad told you that hardships are what God wants you to deal with. If that's God's will for us, then we need to get to the point where we can say, "Oh, it went away." Anybody that makes YouTube live videos on their phone must be magical, because it's making, I can't read that fast. I didn't see the end of your comment, but I'm trying to find something that you said in week 4. No, we're in week 3. Hang on. There was something that stuck out to me too in this one, and I didn't put it in my notes. I've got to find it. This is something that really, I don't know why I didn't put this in my notes. It says, I can't tell you how many times over the years I've heard the fear expressed. I'm afraid God will cause something terrible to happen so that he can use it for his glory. And how many, I mean, maybe you guys haven't done that, but that's the scary thing about praying for God's will, because we know that a lot of times, or sometimes, it may not be our will, and we're really controlling. I think a lot of us, me especially, I really want God to do what I want him to do when I want him to do it. So praying for God's will is a really hard, scary thing to do, especially for a control freak. So maybe you guys don't struggle with that, but I definitely do. So that really did, I don't know why that was not in my notes, but that really did stick to me. Yeah, so good. So I'm not alone then. So you really feel that way. It's kind of like my mom always said. She's like, don't pray for patience because God will test you. And so now I'm terrified to pray for patience because I don't want to be tested. I don't feel like I'm a very patient person. That's one of the things that I thought before we started homeschooling. I was like, I'm not patient enough to homeschool anybody. But it's surprising how much you can change, and how much you can actually deal with, and how you do have more patience than you think if you rely on God to help you. And there are definitely some days when I'm praying for patience, and like before I come on here, I always pray that I will say what he wants me to say, because you never know who needs to hear it or how I can say it that will affect somebody. And it's the same thing with, the beginning of a homeschool day or any old day, even if it's not homeschooling, praying for him to guide you and lead you. He will always equip us for whatever he asks us to do. That is so true. And that's something else that I think a lot of us are, maybe it's just me, but we think we have to do it all on our own. We have to have the strength for it. We have to have all the answers. We have to have researched everything out, and we don't. Hey, Amanda, I'm so glad you're here. Finally, you didn't forget. That's good. I'm glad you're here. So I totally lost my train of thought. I got really excited because she's missed the last few weeks. But do you guys have anything else that you want to add to what we're talking about tonight, or if you've read the book, and even if it's from a previous week, anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up for today? I was just seeing what time it was. Anybody have anything else to add? If not, then obviously you guys know what next Wednesday is. I don't know what the day is because I don't have my calendar because it's on my phone, which I'm using right now. But next Wednesday, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be going over week 4. And then any takeaways that you guys have from the previous weeks, whether it's the previous weeks in the book or the previous weeks if you're watching just the videos, you're not even reading the book, and maybe you've jotted down some notes or some things that stuck out to you. Just want to say thank you for doing these and all the work you do on your channel. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. I've been really stressed out about it these last few weeks. But you guys have been so nice and gracious, and it makes me motivated to keep going. What book are we talking about? This book, Live a Praying Life Without Fear. I will link it a couple minutes after the live stream is over. I'm going to save this video. I've heard you can get this for free. You're fabulous. You are meant for this, and your kind spirit shines. That's so nice. Thank you. I'll tell somebody today that I was told I was fabulous. That doesn't happen every day. But this is the book that we're reading. I'm sorry for those of you guys who didn't know. I should have said, or maybe I did, maybe you missed it. Live a Praying Life Without Fear. I believe you can get it for free on Hoopla. Yes, through your library. If you have the Hoopla app, I've heard you can get this for free. You can also buy it on Amazon. You can get it in the Kindle version. But you don't have to have the book if you just want to go along with the videos. I will have all the previous week's videos linked for you guys. So week 1, 2, and 3, or week 1 and 2. This is week 3. If you want to go back and watch those, basically we're just recapping what we read in the book. So don't feel like you have to have the book if you don't want to get it, or if you're behind and you feel like, oh, I have to catch up. It's okay. I'm going to save these videos. They're going to be saved for you on my channel forever, unless YouTube blows up and all my videos disappear. You'll be able to go back and watch it on your own time. So anyway, next Wednesday, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be going over week 4 and any takeaways that you have from week 4, or the entire 4 weeks, the entire book, or anything else you just want to add. And also, like we talked about last week, whenever worry starts to creep into your mind, you've already given that worry to God, really try to focus on redirecting your thought. Like we talked about worrying being a habit. I definitely feel like it is, and it can be. It is for me. I think it's just my automatic response as a mom and as a woman to just start thinking I have to worry about everything, because that doesn't cure anything, but it makes you feel better in a sick kind of way sometimes to think about, if I worry about it and keep praying about it over and over and over, then maybe God will be more likely to answer me. And that's not really how it works. So once you've given God your worry and you really have given it to Him and said, God, help me with this. Give me the strength to go through whatever this is, or I pray for your will and give me the strength to follow through with your will. Even that, sometimes you need strength to do what God, like this, like even though this is a minor thing, doing a live stream, to me, it was really, really scary. And I'll be honest, I didn't really want to do it. I wanted to, but I didn't. And I really relied on God to help me. And I cannot believe that I'm on here talking to people live, because that scares me to death. I don't like doing things live, and people think, well, you do YouTube videos. How's that any different? It's a lot different, trust me. So I really stepped out in faith with that and let God lead me. And I feel like it's turned out really well. You guys have blessed me so much with your comments and your support and telling me that I've helped you, because that's why I did this. Even if it only helps one person, that's why I wanted to do it, because I felt like God wanted me to do it. Don't let it scare you. You have to remember, we all feel like we know you and you're our friend. Well, that's nice, because I feel like I know you guys too. And I've met a couple people out and about, and they'll always say, they're embarrassed because they think, I'm somebody. And I'm like, I'm just me. I mean, I'm not, just because I'm on YouTube does not mean that I'm anybody. I mean, I have just as many struggles and worries and concerns, and embarrassing things happen and gross things happen. Like I talked about before, I tend to burp when I make videos. So, all these things happen, and you guys are always so sweet to me and accepting of me, and I really, really appreciate that. So hopefully you guys will be able to be here next week with me. If not on the live stream, you'll be able to watch the video on the replay. If you have any comments you want to add, definitely you'll be able to comment once the video is saved. You'll be able to make regular comments like you would in a regular video. So definitely, if you're watching this on the replay, leave me a comment and let me know kind of your thoughts on what we talked about today, or if you're reading the book, what your thoughts have been so far. And I guess I will see you guys in the next one. I don't know how to end this one. This is different. So I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you later, maybe, if I can figure out how to end this.